Welcome back to the Sledgehammer's Edge Impact. Today, I have an amazing entertainer, an author, an actor, a motivational speaker, a columnist, a radio jockey, and an NLP coach, Shekhar Vijayan. A kaleidoscope of talent and enthusiasm. He has interacted with several people across the world when not doing what he generally and always seems to be doing. You'll see him either on Republic TV, on Times Now, or The Mirror, promoting various important issues concerning the country. He has won several awards, including the Global Outstanding Leadership Award. And in the middle of all this, he just loves to keep his dog smiling all the time. Sunshine. Let's meet up with Shekar and let's understand his journey through this entire pandemic era and how he surfaced out of it. So let's step right in. Hello, Shekhar, and how are you doing this morning?
Absolutely wonderful.
As usual. Let me tell you, I am one of your greatest fans, and I'm so thankful that you accepted this invitation to come onto my show. You had a kaleidoscope of experiences in your entire journey till now. And the number of awards that you have won, the interfacing that you've done globally across the world. And you wear so many hats that I am amazed how you still manage to keep them all well balanced. But I'm sure this is not how it all started. So can we go all the way back, flashback into when this calling began? And what was you before that?
Okay.
What was you when your calling began, and how you created or crafted your voyage all the way?
Of course. So I almost feel like a Titanic ship, actually, if you think about it now, it's almost like a metaphor. The Titanic ship was meant to be on the seas, irrespective of what happened with it in the end. But I think that's what we all are. We are all supposed to be out there on the high waters, not there in the seashore, just waiting for things to happen. And I think somewhere that's how life has really turned out for me. Now, sir, like you were telling, where did it all start? I think the first 3 years when I was born, I didn't speak. So my mother was really scared that I should really got a child who's become like an Einstein, who doesn't really talk when he's small and suddenly becomes into something else, though the hairstyle tends to agree there. But I think the first 3 years when I didn't speak, and when I was in school or in college, I was always one of the last benchers. Not because I was notoriously naughty, but I was just observing people around me. Mm-hmm. And I think that observation has helped me in good stead, if I look at it, because I was always somebody who used to look at life from a different lens altogether. Mm-hmm. I used to observe a lot, and I guess my father thought I had some kind of funny streak in me, because at times he used to call me out when his friends used to come and, impersonate someone. And I just did it. I could, at one point in time, I could impersonate everybody you could think of. I could impersonate the likes of Rajesh Khanna, Shah Rukh Khan, Shatrughan Sinha, Sanjeev Kumar, all these people. And
that was when you were very young and
very young,
actually having a ball in life.
Absolutely. So you're living it up in Delhi. You have a Yamaha RX100, and it's like So I studied in a boys' school, and I studied in a school called Mount St. Mary's, which was in Delhi, Kent.
Yes.
A very very nice school, I would say, because very very chivalrous, and we had a girls' school right opposite, which was known as the convent, which was a sister school for us. So the brothers were very clear; they made them sisters already, even before we decided. And once you're in a boys' school, and then you get into college, it's like one awakening of sorts for you
Yes,
in more
yes,
than one. And
yes,
when you start going to college, you get to meet interesting people, different people, and you get exposed to different. You get exposed to everything, and especially in a place like Delhi, uh,
yes,
it's the culture is very different. If you
yes.
study in North Campus or South Campus, it's very different. I think that entire objective of going to college was all about bunking college, watching movies, and just zipping around in your bike.
Yes, yes. Haven't we all done it? Haven't we all
All
done it?
done that.
Yes,
And I
yes,
used
yes.
to love going to the British Council and
Mhm.
reading there. The British Council was
Yes.
in Connaught Place.
Connaught
And it's
Place,
a very
yes.
nice sedate place. And you like to go there because for me, more than just reading, I used to like observing people around there.
And it was
It's
a very, very, very huge, it was a huge library, if I remember,
oh
I
yes,
recall.
it is
Very,
it
very
is
big.
big, huge, and
Yes,
there was something about Connaught. I think that area at that point of time, talking about
yes,
20, 25 years back, Connaught
yes,
Place,
yes.
so different. And then you've got your own freedom. You're on your bike, and we were staying in this place called Vasant Kunj. So everything was looking fine. Then one fine day, my father he said that what, I'm going to retire. He was working with Ambuja Cement, and he was a
Okay.
joint captain of Ambuja Cement. And he was a man he was a man of his words, I would say,
Mhm.
man of his words. And like they say in Delhi, yaron ka yaar, doston ka dost. So anybody who would come in from Kerala, he would really entertain them very well. He was a
Right.
teetotaler, but he wouldn't mind, getting them drinks and doing all kinds of stuff. Basically, he was very well connected, I would say, in Delhi. And
Uh-huh.
Delhi, it's about how connected you are. So it kind of got into my system, looking at all this, where But I also wanted to move out of my dad's shadow. I didn't want to be there,
Mhm.
and I got an opportunity to do that by coming to Bangalore, and I started working in Bangalore. I
All
worked for
right.
a I worked for a bank where I had a ridiculous boss, and I saw the Indian bosses who had the language of a sailor, and I realized this is not what I want to be. And I joined a
Okay.
call center. And in
Okay.
a call center, you start knowing that your sales skills are very good because you're ideally selling ice to an Eskimo, and the Eskimo knows
Right.
that ice until the Eskimo buys it. That's the kind of people you're working with. When you're
Yes.
able to crack, then you develop that kind of confidence that when you work in call centers, you obviously earn a lot of money because it's depending on the sales. And then I started leading a sales team, and I realized my biggest strength is actually working with people. I like talking to people. I like connecting with people. I can motivate anyone and everyone. I think that's the
That is
result.
something I can vouch for. Knowing you, that is something I can vouch for. Yes.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's a single negative bone in my body. I genuinely look at any opportunity as an objective for all of us. Now, as we are in the middle of the pandemic,
Yes.
there's obviously a lot of anger, a lot of helplessness, a lot of
Yes.
restlessness, because we have all lost our loved ones in some form. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, you have to keep moving on, right? That's what
Yes.
life is. So life,
Yes.
in a way, tells you that, boss, you cannot just stay idle all your life. You got to keep doing something. And I
Right.
think that's what leadership is all about. Leadership is all about understanding yourself internally and keep moving forward. And
Right.
somewhere I realized that, and that was my mojo, or my secret element, I would say. The fact that I was able to realize very early in life that, uh, sir, I also see that people of my age group, or they're not matured. When I say matured, some of them are very shallow. When I'm saying shallow, they don't look at life in its entirety. It is a living for
Is that because they have not had any deep experiences that you may have had in life, and as a consequence of which you have far more depth than they have?
I think it's a variety of factors. I think it's also about what you see, what you understand, what you read, and
Right.
what you want to know.
Right.
Uh, it's very simple. Now, this time I've noticed that people around me are all crying about the pandemic. The
Right.
pandemic happened last year too, but this time it's a little more personal because people who we know have died, and that's for every family. So
Yes.
somewhere when it
Yes.
gets personal, you forget all objective of what's around you. You start getting angry,
Right. Right.
and that's
Right.
exactly what I felt when I lost my daughter. When I lost my daughter, she was 108 days old, and her name
Oh,
was Akira. Her name was
okay.
Akira, and that was because
How long ago was this?
so this was around 4 years back.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
this was around
I'm
four
so
years back.
sorry. I'm so sorry
No,
about
no,
this.
I'm sure she must be even watching us and listening to us, I believe,
Yes.
as we talk. So this
Yes.
red color for her, for Akira. But
And she must be realizing what a mad hatter my father has been
oh,
and will
I'm
always
quite,
be.
quite
That's very
so
sweet.
So she was with us for 108 days, and I think those were the best days of our life. I would agree. And we used to go to the hospital day in and day out. But and she passed off. She passed away because there was a stomach ailment which couldn't be treated. We took her to Manipal Hospital. That didn't work out. She was in cloud nine, and that point in time, when the person dies, and somebody who's dying in front of you, you
Right.
have a lot of anger towards the doctors.
Yes.
Because you feel
Yes.
like they could save your life, and their anger is there. Their anger was there for a few seconds for me too, and that's when I realized, boss, you can't control. There are things you can control. There are things you cannot control. There are
Yes.
some moments you got to trust the people around you and just go with the flow.
Right.
And there was another family celebrating the arrival of their child, and there was our family, which was obviously mourning the
Oh.
their child.
All right.
It hit me
All
hard.
right.
It gave me a sense of balance that day. I don't know, it was like an awakening, I would say, but it made me look at life from a very different perspective. And obviously, I felt the loss of my child because the next day I did a show with
Yes.
Jeffrey Archer, and we did the show. Everything went off well, and he came and asked me.
This was with Jeffrey Archer.
Yeah, with Jeffrey Archer.
All right. Okay.
That was his book launch. And the next day he came and told me, like, after the launch, my eyes were red. He said, "Why are your eyes red?" I said, "My eyes were red because I lost my daughter last evening." He said, "But you're a great man. You still managed to come in and engage the audience and do your job really well." I said, "Yeah, I did it because I did it for my daughter, because I feel somewhere she would be proud of what I did, and I did because of that." So somewhere I use that, my daughter's death, as a motivation for me. I
Right.
use that as
Right.
people look at motivation like somebody can get inspired by, say, Winston Churchill or a Muhammad Ali or a Narendra Modi or anyone. I am inspired by my daughter. I'm
Yes.
inspired by a moment in my life. And though she spent very less time with us, but all those moments were very precious. And
I think, Shekhar, you have actually touched a very important facet to be thought about, especially in this post-pandemic era where people are losing their loved ones, I should say, left, right, and center, and are literally drowning in their sorrows and virtually killing themselves in the process.
absolutely.
But you, on the other hand, within, I would say, a night space, because the very next day you were with Jeffrey Archer launching his book, decided that everything has to be re-engineered once again to bring back the force that you were so used to living with. And I think that is really amazing, Shekhar. Kudos to you. Amazing. And I hope this stands an example of for everyone who's watching this talk show. This is amazing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I think the generation we are living in, this moment we're living in post the pandemic, I think our entire vision statement should all change. It's not necessary that this has to be etched in stone, because nobody expected the pandemic, right? Nobody expected deaths. Nobody expected that we'll have a situation where everything is topsy-turvy and we are talking to each other through a virtual platform, not out of need, but out of necessity. And when you have a live discussion, it's got a different sense of energy altogether. But we're still making it happen. We're still making things happen. We're still doing it to the best of our ability. I think somewhere one has to also realize that you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, and you have to change on the word go. And
right.
I think the business dynamics changes based on that. If you're not ready for it, you will be left behind. And like I always say, you don't win the silver, you lose the gold. It's as simple as that. I wore this t-shirt specifically for this moment.
That was very kind of you. Very nice of
you. So yeah, that's what business is all about. You don't win the silver, you lose the gold. And I think if people who don't understand that will understand it in the long run, because sooner or later, the industries which survive. And I've seen that when we talk about the pandemic right now, even during the World War, after post the World War, there were industries which did really well, and there were industries which didn't do well at all.
Right.
Because they realized, life has to move on. Deaths will happen, yes. We all lose a loved ones. Humanity is existent, but an outcome of this is the fact that we have to constantly keep moving forward. We cannot afford to stay idle.
Yes, and I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you, what was it that you did when the virus hit the country and we had series of lockdowns? But you remained afloat, you remained energized, you remained absolutely encouraged with the kind of work that you were doing. But what was that particular formula possibly that you would have used to have risen out the way you have above the surfaces of all that is happening today?
So I used, so for me, it was like the E is equal to MC square. I think I used a very interesting formula where I know the biggest skill I know is my power of mentoring. And I'm talking about mentoring. I have mentored people from all age groups.
Right.
From somebody as young as somebody who's 10 years old to somebody as old as 60 years old. Like at times, my mom also calls me up and she asks my opinion on certain things, and we have a very good relationship. Even my friends, like for example, you're a friend of mine, and I'm sure you're close to 60, though you may not agree because you look more like 40 to me.
I'm actually
But
62.
actually, but so and so I feel I have this ability of connecting with people, understanding what they're all about, and keep the conversation going. And that's my biggest strength. And as a mentor, that is. And I feel the power of mentoring is not just about talking to people, but also understanding how you can engage with them. Now, in today's day and age, it's very important that everybody has an attention of a fly because of all the social media platforms around us. These conversations are actually gold dust, I believe. And so, I felt the power of mentoring is equal to engagement, equal to empathy. Because empathy, or when I talk about empathy, I talk about emotional intelligence. That's a forgotten term in today's day and age. Nobody talks about emotional intelligence, but I think that's the most important skill. And I talk about empowerment. So I've done that with different stakeholders. I've done that with college students, where I've mentored them over a period of time during this pandemic. Over a month, where we meet every Friday or every Wednesday, and we just talk and we just listen. I just listen, and then at the end of it, I empower them to make a decision. Where I'm there with them and I tell them, what, we will follow this. We will engage with you. When I engage, I entertain them. I play games with them. I ask them questions, ask them about the love life and various things around it. Basically, media. Then I also empathize with them. I say, I have been through this. I know what you're talking about. That's emotional intelligence. And then empowerment, where you give them an objective, saying, go for it. Let's see how well you fare. So it includes all the aspect. It's obviously internal, but it's also action oriented, because it's not just about act. And I felt this was very interesting during this pandemic, because there are a lot of people out there who want to be mentored but don't know how to do it. And if you can hit upon this formula where you can work closely with different companies, small entrepreneurs, big entrepreneurs, college students, families, I think it's great. So that has really helped me, and I've really understood this, and I've actually managed to use this like a Moses in the 10 Commandments, where the water just moves away. It's been like, I would say, an outlier moment for me.
That is amazing. So you put a combination of these various assets that you put in place for the advantage of empowerment, so to speak. You've also written a book, Shekhar. Could we know what this book is all about and what made you write this book?
So, sir, I co-written a book called Dare to Dream, which was about my journey to Mount Kailash and my weight loss journey. And I think somewhere it is a mix of both being spiritual and physical. And it's interesting because you need a mix of both in some form, because somewhere it cannot always be physical, and somewhere your spiritual journey cannot always be spiritual. It has to be physical. And I think so that journey to Mount Kailash was an amalgamation of sorts, because it is obviously very, very physical and very spiritual, but it is also an eye opener for a lot of people that if you believe in it, you can. I also believe if you are stubborn, there's nothing wrong in being stubborn. We have been conditioned from since time immemorial that you should not be stubborn. Being stubborn is being negative, but that's something which we've heard. I think if you're stubborn about what you want to achieve in life, in spite of thousands of people telling you it's wrong, and if you believe it's right, if you go by a gut feel, which is a very important moment in everybody's life, nothing can stop you from it. And I think that's what this book is about. This book is about everybody who wants to swim against the tide. This book is about all the outliers who've done it on their own, because I think all of us leaders follow their own dictum. All said and done, you have books written by various people. But at the end of the day, you follow what you feel is right, and at the point of going for it, in spite of everybody else saying no. So, and I strongly believe in that. So that's what Dare to Dream is all about. Dare to Dream is about dreaming now with your eyes wide open.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. One important question I'm going to ask you, which is really about sunshine. because you
Absolutely.
write so much about sunshine. And there's an article on sunshine also, The Spotless Mind. You need to talk about, because I am a lover of dogs myself. I would
Absolutely.
love to hear how sunshine influences you as an entertainer, as a empowerer, as a motivator.
So, see, for me, sunshine is a source of inspiration because I see her day in and day out, and uh, from the time she wakes up till the time she goes to sleep, and more often than not, we are watching movies together.
Yes.
More often than not, we go on these walks in the morning because I'm supposed to take her down for whatever she needs to do, and then
Yes.
we have this silent moment where we just look at the sun. Both of us are looking at the sun, and she's like blinking at the sun, like, "What the hell is guy trying to do?" And I'm just looking at the sun. And more often than not, our hair is also looking similar now because of the lockdown.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
only thing, mine is black and hers is white or ground
Yes.
or golden,
Golden
and
colored. Yes.
golden color. So she's an inspiration because I just like the fact that when she goes for the bone, she's just focused on the bone. So if you give her a bone, she just looks at the bone like it's the best thing that's happened to her in life, and she just goes for it. And her focus is unwavering. Also, but she also has her eyes on you when you're eating your food. But
Yes. Yes. Yes.
all dogs do because they're like boss, and she gives this puppy dog expression that how can you eat the food without even giving me anything? Though
Without
she's
giving me a bite. Yes, I
already
know.
though she's already eaten a meal, though she's already had a carrots, though she's already eaten everything, it just gives that expression that boss, I need to eat food, give me something. So you start
Yes.
feeling
Yes.
guilty about it.
In
So
fact, the pet that we have at home, it actually belongs to my younger daughter.
yeah,
But most time, since my daughter is working on a home and she's very busy on her laptop, etc., so the dog lands up with me sitting in the studio. And the best moments I spend is actually explaining to her what my strategies are in business. Because you know
wow.
what? There's no one to oppose it. Apart from wagging tail, there's no one to oppose it.
Yeah,
So that's the fun part, right? One final question,
exactly, sir.
Shekhar. Not really a question. What would be your advice, your inspiration advice to the younger generation who are working up as young budding CEOs, young budding entrepreneurs in the post-pandemic era today?
I think I think there are three things to do, sir. One is network as much as you can.
Network as much as you can. All right.
Network. You've got a network. You got a network. You got to connect. You got to understand people. You got to know what they like, what they dislike. You got to know everything
Right.
about it. Only then you will be
Right.
successful. Second thing is, if you look at a problem, look at it a problem in its entirety.
Right.
We're living in the generation which looks at a Wikipedia page and decides, or looks at Google and decides whether there's a problem as a solution. It may not
Right.
necessarily be true. You got to look at a problem from a 360 degrees perspective. That's when you
Yes.
need to talk to people, ask questions. The third thing is be courageous, take the risk. You have nothing to lose. Uh,
Right.
and when I'm talking about being courageous, it's about this is the best moment in their life where they can dream with their eyes wide open because
Right.
technology is at its best. But if you
Yes.
include an element of storytelling with that, if you could include an element of talking to people, connecting with people, working with people, because I think this generation has been fed on this philosophy of just winning. You can win, but
Yes.
we all got to win this together. We all got to
Yes.
win.
I think that's really. I really 100% agree with what you say, because I've always maintained one very important thing. Just before pre-pandemic, the competition was so fierce because it was a question of who's going to be the best. Today, in the post-pandemic era, I realize that competitiveness is gone. It is all about collaborative work,
Absolutely.
because it's a question of survival now. It's not a
Absolutely.
question of who's the best. And I fully endorse what you're saying, because I think you're absolutely right. This is a time of collaborative leadership, collaborative working together, and that would make that huge big difference in such a pandemic environment that we are in. What I call the huge disruption of an
Oh yes.
ecosystem.
Oh yes. There's
Well
a
then, Shekhar,
so
thank you so much for being here this morning. It was amazing talking to you, and thank you so much for inspiring all the CEOs, young CEOs and entrepreneurs who are watching this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.